Good afternoon and welcome to this meeting of Caerphilly SACRE, being held on Thursday, the 12th of November 2020. This meeting is being held remotely via Microsoft Teams due to restrictions in relation to COVID-19. My name is Councillor John Taylor and I will be chairing this SACRE meeting today. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available to view via the Council's website, except for any discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images and audio of those individuals present and or speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council website at www.caerphilly.gov.uk. And now I'm going to do a roll call, and if people could say if they're present. Councillor Aldworth.
Present, Chair.
Councillor Collis.
Present.
We've had apologies from Councillor Oliver. Councillor Parry.
Present.
We've had apologies from Councillor Simmons, and I'm present. Ms Helen Bartley.
Present.
Mrs Tara Lloyd.
Present.
Ms Mynir Jones. If you could put the apologies in there then, please, Rebecca. We've had apologies from Mrs Catherine McCulloch and Mrs Claire McLaughlin.
Present.
Mr Ken Chamberlain. Mr Chamberlain, are you still with us?
Yes, I'll switch it off.
Thank you, Mr Chamberlain. Mr Michael Gray.
Present.
We've had apologies from Mrs Envis Hawthorne and apologies from Major Paula Hubbard. Mrs Janet Jones.
Present.
And we've had apologies from Mr Martin Weston. Can I check as a present? Paula Webber from
Yes,
EAS. Thank you. And Rebecca Barrett, our Committee Services Officer.
Present, Chair.
Karen Quinn, who's going to be the Local Authority Education Representative, will be joining us before too long. She's in another meeting at the moment. And can I also welcome supporting officers from Committee Services who are present in the background. So thank you all for confirming your attendance. Please can I remind attendees that if they lose connection during the meeting, please make every effort to reconnect. However, the meeting will continue as long as the meeting is quorate. And the Committee Services officers are on hand and will be able to assist you to reconnect if necessary. Please could I ask everyone to keep their microphones on mute until they're called to speak. And if you wish to speak, please use the hands up function in the Microsoft Teams. I'd like to welcome some new members here today who are with us for their first time. There's Councillor Alan Collis and Claire McLaughlin. So welcome to the meeting. I would have been welcoming Catherine McCulloch as well, but unfortunately she's not able to attend today. And I'd like to thank Councillor John Ridgewell for his services to the SACRE, and he's been replaced on the SACRE by Councillor Collis. So I think we've had the apologies for absence, so we'll move on to declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and or prejudicial interests in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. So if you have any such declarations, please could you use the hands up function. No, there aren't any declarations of interest. We'll move to item 3, which is to approve and sign the minutes of the Caerphilly Standing Advisory Council for Religious Education held on the 23rd of October 2019. So a very long time ago. So we'll take the minutes for accuracy page by page. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7 and page 8. Is somebody willing to move those as a true record of our last meeting? If somebody can remember that far back?
Chairman, could I ask this regarding the dates of the future SACRE meetings? There's reference to 2020 instead of 2021.
No, these were the minutes from last October's meeting, Mr. Gray. So they were talking about the 2020 meetings, but of course events have overtaken us during 2020. Yeah, I know. So can I ask, is it possible when sending out minutes, if they could be possibly in English and bilingual separately? Because the 76 copies to be printed, and if it's English, it'd be cut down a bit on the pages. Well, can we deal with our minutes first? Yeah, before we move on I move the minutes if you want to move it. So you're moving our minutes. Is there a seconder?
Second.
Thank you.
John.
Could you use the hands up function if you hope that the minutes are accurate? I appreciate that some people may not know because it's their first meeting, so they weren't there at last October. So I think that's a majority, Rebecca.
Yes, Chair, that's the majority. That's carried.
Right, thank you. So if you'd like to put your hands back down now. Thank you. Thank you, members. The minutes are approved. Item 4 is to consider any actions on matters arising from the minutes. Are there any actions or matters arising? If there are, then please indicate by using the hands up button. No, it doesn't appear that there are. Oh, Mrs. Paula Webber.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Chair, that most of the actions have been followed up. From that meeting, letters have gone out and various things, but obviously we've been interrupted by COVID, and that most of the issues will have been covered in the annual report, and updates will be given in this meeting.
Right, thank you, Mrs. Webber, and thank you, members. Item 5 is the Caerphilly SACRE annual report 2019 to 2020. So, Mrs. Paula Webber from EAS, can I hand over to you, please?
Yeah, so the report has been written, is still in draft at the moment, and we've got to accept it. But to that, I wanted to just say that there have been a couple of typos and one date that was incorrect that we have since amended, but they are just little small type, nothing to do with the content, just a few typos that have been corrected. If anybody had spotted any of those, so they'll be put right in the final draft. And as we are going through the, looking at the issues that have come up, I've written a small report for this meeting, saying that we're going to pick up some of the issues in the annual report that I would like to give you an update on. Because it's been a year since our last meeting. So if you look at the report attached to the agenda, there is a little list of bullet points of things that are arising from the report that I'd like to give some feedback on, that's more up to date than that's in the annual report. So if I can just start with our bullet point list, and I can talk to you about SACRE membership. The membership list contained in the report is accurate and up to date at the end of last year. And just to let you know that we are still carrying a couple of vacancies, but our membership is quite strong at the moment. We've managed to recruit on each of the groups, as the chair highlighted earlier on, and has been able to welcome new members. The vacancies we are carrying are still one from an organisation other than like a Christian organisation on Committee A. Although we are making steps to try to fill that currently. Committee B, which are teacher associations, we still carrying 2 vacancies on that, one from the NEU and one from the ASCL. With regard to our co-opted places, we still have 2 co-opted places which have been reserved for young people from the Youth Forum. I don't know whether Councillor Taylor would like to say something about that, because obviously you went to meet with the Youth Forum last year, didn't you? I don't know whether you've given a verbal update on that or not.
Yes, I met with some members of the Youth Cabinet, and they seemed very interested, and they were going to put out some feelers to see if they could get couple of the young people who are sort of keen on studying RE to join, but of course they've all been overtaken by the current situation with COVID-19 as well. So I think all activities by the Youth Cabinet and the Youth Forum are on hold at the moment. So as soon as we can get back to meeting with them, we'll try and see if we can get those co-opted places filled with 2 youngsters.
Yeah, so yeah, I think as well there's additional safeguarding issues around meetings online for young people at the moment.
Oh yes, yes.
So we have to bear that in mind. But as soon as that can be rectified, then those places are available for the young people who were quite keen to join us. The second bullet point that I've put on the report is about the curriculum for Wales 2022. And I just wanted to give you an update on that, and say that the time frame at the moment hasn't been changed due to COVID, and the curriculum will still be implemented in 2022 as was expected. Schools during the lockdown were encouraged to explore the new curriculum and the what matters and things like that, and maybe to set work around that while the current curriculum had been disapplied. So I know that schools are now beginning to to look at their curriculum design and to look at the the guidance that is available, and starting to put some action in place now in order to design the whole school curriculum and the humanities curriculum. The problem that we have from an RE point of view with that is that our RE or RVE framework, as it may be called now, is still not available to schools alongside the humanities guidance. On the one hand, it might not make an awful lot of difference, because obviously RE sits within the humanities, and the framework will just give further additional guidance. It's not going to actually change any of the content of the humanities framework. But just to say that there is work starting in schools. I think schools are all on a different level with this. Some have had a lot of engagement, particularly if they were pioneer schools and such, and they are sort of quite a long way down the road, whereas others haven't had the same amount of support and are at a different point. So so there's not that equal level of access to the curriculum there. The Curriculum and Assessment Wales Bill is currently going through the Senedd, and it's being looked at by the Children, Young People and Education Committee at the Senedd, and you will in your pack have seen a report which we're going to talk about later on in the agenda, and our response to the consultation that's being held by that committee. So we'll talk about that in more detail then, but just to say that SACRE were invited to the Senedd to send someone to the Senedd to talk to the committee as they're looking at that report, and I attended that meeting on behalf of SACRE, and you can actually see it on Senedd TV. Not that I've watched myself, I'd prefer not to, but it is there available if you wanted to have a look at that. And you can see all of the rest of the meeting with other witnesses, as they've been calling them, to talk who have been talking to the Senedd on that issue. The emphasis at the moment, and I think our teachers are going to be able to perhaps say a little bit about this, but the emphasis for the current situation is on blended learning. Now, blended learning, if you'd have asked us last year, probably the vast majority of people wouldn't have had a clue what that meant. But it's about learning that's planned to be used from a distance or within the classroom. So you're going to have situations where you've got some children in, some are self-isolating, some whole year groups have had to go home. The situation is ever changing in schools, and fair play to our workforce. They've really had to step up. It's been a massive learning curve, but all of this is going on via blended learning, so some in the classroom, some at home. And now we're at a point where we are thinking about, how are we planning for this? How is it purposeful? How is it providing continuity? How is it helping our learners to progress? And I'll talk in a little bit later about, some of the professional learning that's been available. But I just want to pause at that point because I've said a lot. And perhaps, Councillor Taylor, people may want to ask some questions about, the curriculum at the moment before I go on any further.
Thanks, Ms Webber. Are there any questions for Paula Webber about the curriculum? No, there don't seem to be any, Paula, so if you could carry on.
I'll carry on then, and I'll just say a little bit more about the RE or RVE framework. It has been delayed. We were hoping that SACRE would have had sight of it again by now, but it's currently held up in the Welsh Government Legal Department, waiting the response, the results, I think, of this consultation. But SACRE are pressing Welsh Government to release those aspects of the framework that people can see, excluding the legal side of it, to SACREs, because this was supposed to be a collaborative approach to writing this document in partnership between SACREs and Welsh Government. So SACRE in the last meeting decided to write a letter asking for sight of the document, because otherwise we're going to be pressed for feeding back or making amendments before it has to be implemented, and before we have to have the agreed syllabus conferences. Obviously, if we can see that before the forthcoming Senedd elections, that would be fantastic, because as you know, with the Senedd elections, business will not be as usual, and I think the framework is going to be caught up in that now, and delayed because of the elections. So we're hoping we can get sight of it before that, so that we can provide some feedback and it can continue to be worked on by the people that are writing it. We will need to convene an agreed syllabus conference in 2021, so that the framework can be implemented at the same time as the curriculum for Wales becomes mandatory. So just to make you aware of that at some point this forthcoming year, we're going to have to hold an agreed syllabus conference again. I don't know whether there are any questions on the framework.
Are there any questions, members? No, there don't appear to be any, so...
Okay, I'll just
carry on.
yeah, I'll just sort of say a little bit more about the framework. Obviously, we are in a difficult situation because we haven't seen it and teachers haven't seen it because of all the new aspects of RE. RE will be changing in the new curriculum. And not just the name. The proposed name is Religion, Values and Ethics. But there's going to be no withdrawal clause, which means that RE in every single classroom must be in practice as well as in theory objective, critical and pluralistic in order to adhere to the European Convention on Human Rights. If it isn't, then we are going to see schools and local authorities perhaps challenged over that. You know, obviously professional learning is crucial going forward. The other differences are obviously that schools will have to be teaching a variety of religious and non-religious worldviews or philosophical convictions, as it's called in law, and the law around SACREs and the agreed syllabi will be changing slightly as well. There'll be a move away from teaching of religions and beliefs in silos to avoid stereotypical views of religion and belief. The RE, as you know, will be sitting within the curriculum, so that'll be massively different as well. There'll be an integrated approach within humanities. So schools are going to have to look at links and interdependencies between the different subjects. We're going to have to think about progression in RE. That's going to be different to what it was before. And, you know, obviously it's going to be completely new at age 3 to 4, where it wasn't compulsory before. So there are massive changes, and so that guidance is needed, really, I think. So just to highlight those issues, really. And I don't know if anybody's got anything to say on those things. I mean, SACRE is aware of them, but other schools might not be, and that's the issue that we've got, really.
Are there any questions for Mrs. Webber on that point? No, there doesn't appear to be any. Before you can, Mrs. Janet Jones.
Sorry.
You're still on mute, Mrs. Jones.
Sorry, just Mrs. Webber, I wanted to really just sort of confirm with you and just to back you up on the things you said there. I mean, it's easy. We've been sort of partially aware through SACRE of some of the things that are coming up in the new curriculum. And, you know, as much as we are delighted that it now falls within the curriculum legally, just browsing through some of the things just highlights the need for training. I mean, the need for training is massive. It's easy to just talk through it and say it needs to be objective, critical and pluralistic, but the implications for that for the teacher in the classroom and for planning is huge. So I think, you know, we all need to be very supportive, saying that the needs that those teachers will need. And for all of us, to be honest, but especially teachers. So I'd like to just support you particularly on that.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree. I've got professional learning for RE as one of the points on the list, so maybe I can go to that one next, as is quite pertinent. And just to say that SACRE have been holding meetings with Kevin Palmer at Welsh Government about a national approach to professional learning for religious education. It has been identified as a risk. It was identified, if you recall, or if you read the papers, in the explanatory memorandum as part of the consultation from the Senedd, as a potential risk. Is certainly a risk in terms of the withdrawal clause. So SACRE are now writing a briefing paper for Welsh Government on a national approach to professional learning. Additionally to that, SACRE in its last meeting have agreed to organise a national conference to launch the RVE framework when it comes out, and to provide professional learning for teachers of religious education, or teachers who have responsibility for religious education, as well as for other people, including you know, senior managers and SACREs. So that is on the cards as well. And NAPFRE are working in collaboration with SACRE on that. So the advisors have, NAPFRE have already started the process of training advisors to local authorities. So they've had some training and will continue to have some training on this as well, so that we can cascade down through NAPFRE. Obviously then that the consortia are providing more generic professional learning for schools, and also there is the learning network schools. In previous years there were learning network schools for each subject, but now, and it was just around GCSE. But the approach this year is that they have appointed humanities learning network schools, and they've appointed secondary and primary. So it's the first time we've had primary schools. The secondary schools are Newbridge and Basleg, and within those schools, obviously there are RE professionals that can help and provide professional learning and resources and things like that. Primary schools are Garnteg and Gay throughout the region. This is they are our humanities schools for primary. The consortium providing blended learning masterclasses at the moment, and some resources have been shared there, including religious education resources. And there are lots of playlists and things available to schools through the consortia. There are humanities network meetings, and if required, they will run RE network meetings as well. There's a very bespoke approach to professional learning at the moment coming out of the consortia. So if you ask for professional learning and are specific, then they'll do their best to provide that for schools. So, you know, the more people that are asking, and we've already had requests in for support around RE and things like that. Provided a bespoke professional learning inset day to a primary school in the Newport area on RVE in the new framework and on spiritual development, and that could be rolled out, you know, and be reused across the region if necessary. My role is changing within the EAS, and my role is now going to be part-time and supporting SACREs only, so I will have less time to actually go into schools to provide support. The support will be provided through the learning network schools. Obviously I'll be attending meetings and things like that wherever possible, but I will only be employed part-time by EAS. The other half of my time will be employed as a senior lecturer at Cardiff Met University, but the reason for that was that my hours had been cut by EAS. And I think that's pretty much all in terms of professional learning and where we are now. But our teachers are in need of a huge amount of support, given the COVID crisis, given you know, the changes to curriculum, and you know, I'm very aware of that, and I know SACRE are as well. And obviously the consortia are. So I don't know whether anybody's got any questions on professional learning.
Before I bring Claire McLaughlin in, because Claire's got her hand up. I'd like to welcome Karen Quinn to the meeting. She joined us a few minutes ago. So welcome Karen Quinn to the meeting. So Claire McLaughlin, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say about professional learning. Obviously, it's going to be really important with the new framework and the new curriculum, etc. In the past, I think we all know one of the major issues was access to learning, to meet, especially if you have more than one specialist in a school, and I think it'll be more important for the whole team. So do we think many of those meetings could be virtual like now? Because I think there would be so more access to them and so many more people attend if we did that.
Yes, all professional learning at the moment has been virtual. EAS have also been very flexible in the timings of those meetings, and they've listened to the teachers. Lots of them have been taking place after school for an hour and a half, things like that. But we've been very flexible around that. So yes, is the answer to your question. If you are not part of the humanities network, then get in touch and we can add you to the team, so that you'll get all of the information about those network meetings. I know was kind of explored the idea of more virtual meetings as well. I think the conference that they are going to arrange, because it's a little while down the road, we are planning for a physical conference that would then be recorded so that people could access it later on. If that's possible, and it's all ifs at the moment, isn't it? But I think we've learned an awful lot about delivering professional learning, and the fact that you haven't got to drive miles to a destination when you can visit online, attend online, and there has been a huge amount of professional learning taking place that probably wouldn't have if we weren't in this situation. So that's one of the benefits and one of the things that we've learnt from this situation.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? No? Then would you like to carry on, Ms. Webber?
Yeah, okay. In terms of monitoring RE and the inspections, obviously that's really come to a halt at the moment. I haven't done an analysis of the inspection reports, but I have gone through to check that there have been no recommendations for Caerphilly schools from right back to the beginning of the spring term, last year, and there was nothing picked up in terms of RE or collective worship in any of those reports, no recommendations made by Estin. Estin's inspections are suspended. They are getting in touch with schools that they've identified that might need support. So they're not sitting around, so they're having telephone conversations with those schools in terms of support. And I've heard some good feedback about the different nature of the support being offered by Estin at the moment. And obviously, under the new curriculum, Estin inspections going to completely change. So for future meetings, we might want to think about, how we are monitoring whether good quality RE is taking place in schools, or how we can find out that kind of thing. But obviously, at the moment, that isn't a priority. Health and well-being of our teachers and learners, seem as much bigger priority at the moment. So I just wanted to give you an update on that. And also Estin have produced some really good guidance, which is available on their website for schools who are trying to cope in the pandemic. But I've got no concerns at the moment, Chair, in terms of RE from any inspection reports that I've seen. And that's the same with collective worship. just to say that SACRE had produced guidance on collective worship during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that was brought about by requests that had come in from head teachers within the region, in our region, to the EAS. So from that, I set up a working party within SACRE to write guidance for schools, which has been gratefully received. And the focus of that is how collective worship could help with well-being and with our communities as well, and also digital approaches to collective worship. So that document's gone out with examples and good links to a variety of different websites that could be used to help with collective worship. Yeah, I think that's all I need to say on collective worship, unless there are any questions.
Does anybody have any questions? No, there aren't any questions.
I'm having it easy today. Right, Holocaust education. We will be sending out information to schools, reminding them that Holocaust Memorial Day is on the 27th of January, and the theme for this year is be the light in the darkness, which actually feels quite right for this year, I think, doesn't it? Yeah, so we can do that as an action from this meeting, perhaps.
Yes, good idea.
And then to the big issue, which I think is the examination arrangements. Obviously, our learners had their examinations disrupted last year, and there was a big media, reaction after it, and the arrangements were changed so that the learners received their teacher assessed grades last year. And then on the 10th of November this year, the Minister has made an announcement to say that there will be no examinations in 2021 due to the disruption that the learners experienced with COVID, and that there will be teacher managed classroom assessments instead, which will be externally verified. So of course now everybody is wondering, well, how and why, and how on earth is this going to work? Because there is no guidance as yet available to teachers to let them know how this is going to happen. Whether or not they've still got to do the same units and all this type of thing. So my advice to them is carry on doing what you're doing until the further guidance comes out. Things are changing constantly in our schools, and I really do feel for the teachers. So I assume that WJC still none the wiser from the 10th of November than we were. I do know that being an examiner, I've had an email alongside other examiners to say, it'll probably be all hands on deck now, because they will need support from their existing examiners in the arrangements for the forthcoming year. So we wait with bated breath on the guidance. But if any schools need any help, then obviously I'm here, and SACRE is here, SACRE to support them. And yeah, I don't know if there's so that's the update on that really, and none of us are any wiser. So I think there are questions, Chair. So
yes, Helen Bartley, you've got a question?
It's not a question, Chair, but it's actually just to say the WJC have provided some blended learning resources on the WJC resources website. There's a list of them that are available, and there's like a rolling programme. So they started to published some of those documents, but they're continuing with some of those documents as well. So it would be quite useful perhaps for schools to be made aware of those things.
Yeah, I am. I'm currently writing a SACRE newsletter, which I hope will go out in the next couple of weeks, and I will highlight that in the newsletter. And you know, we are telling, you know, in the Learning Network meetings, we've been letting people know, in SACRE have been letting people know. So you know, I think it's important that we get that message out, and there are some very good resources for religious studies on the website. You know, I've seen some excellent, so that's really good that we've had that support from the WJC.
Great. Are there any other questions? No. Can you like to carry on then, Ms. Webber?
Sorry, there's only two more bits to this. So the training of SACRE members usually takes place at prior to this meeting, but obviously, you know, it's been difficult to organise. So what I would like to offer is any new members or anybody that wants to refresh, if you would like some informal training on the roles and responsibilities of SACREs, or what is expected of you, then get in touch with me, and perhaps I can via Rebecca, and perhaps we can organise. And I was thinking that perhaps it would be a good idea to offer this on a regional basis. So if there's a demand for it, then I will provide that on a regional basis, and get people together for some training if they're interested in that. And then the other thing is to say about correspondence. All correspondence has been passed on as it arises to SACRE members. You've been copied into everything, or it has been highlighted in the annual report. We have received the WASAC minutes only yesterday. I'm not sure whether Rebecca's had time to pass them on yet, but they will be passed on, you know, ASAP. And I'm just sorry that they weren't available to include in the papers for this meeting. But I don't think we need to go through the huge list, because it's all recorded. And we've been doing most of our correspondence via email, and you've seen it all, you know, everything that we've done. And Rebecca is brilliant at the communications there. So I think that's everything on this item, unless there are any more questions.
Thank you, Ms. Webber. Are there any comments or questions about the actual draft report itself as well? I can't see any hands up. So is somebody willing to move that we approve the SACRE annual report for 2019-2020?
Move.
I shall, sir. Yeah.
So Councillor Michael Gray moved it, and I think well, I can see Janet Jones and a couple of others have seconded. So with this vote, though, this vote has to be done by roll call. So I will call out your name, and I want you to say whether you're for approving the annual report, if you're or against, or abstain. So Councillor Aldworth.
For.
Councillor Collis.
Approve.
Thank you. Councillor Oliver has apologised. Councillor Parry.
For.
Councillor Simmons has apologised. Myself, I'm for. Helen Bartley. You're on mute, Helen.
For, Chair. Thank you.
Tara Lloyd, I don't know if she's still with us. She's been having connection problems and has been coming in and out of the meeting. So I got a feeling that Mrs. Lloyd isn't currently in the meeting.
Yes, Chair. Mrs. Lloyd is unable to rejoin the meeting.
Right. Thank you, Rebecca. Claire McLaughlin.
For.
Ken Chamberlain.
For.
Michael Gray.
For.
We've had apologies from Envis Hawthorne and Major Paula Hubbard. Janet Jones?
4.
And if your maths is the same as mine, Rebecca, that's passed unanimously.
Yes, Chair, that's correct. That's carried unanimously.
Right. Thank you very much, members. Item 6 is a report about our responses to recent consultations on the Curriculum for Wales 2022. So again, Ms Paula Webber, can I hand over to you to give us a brief summary?
Yes, Chair, just to say that we had to correspond via email and consult via email on the consultations on religion, values and ethics and on the draft bill, and that you've all seen the responses and agreed to the responses via email, and that is just here now for us to officially note the responses that we sent to Welsh Government and to the Senedd for those 2 particular consultations that went in the name of the chair from SACRE, because it wasn't in a formal meeting. So you've had a report about what they were, and you've seen the responses. So it's just really for you to note them and receive them.
Right, thank you, Ms Webber. Are there any questions before we note the responses? No, there don't appear to be any questions, so thank you. Those responses are noted. Item 7 is to receive and note the minutes from the SACRE meeting in Aberaeron on the 21st of November 2019. So, Ms Webber, again, can I hand over to you for a brief summary?
Yeah, again, the meeting was over a year ago. In the feedback that I've given you about what's going on a national level, you've heard a lot of that. So I don't really want to talk an awful lot about those minutes really, because again, they are old now. So it's just for you to receive those. So it's basically just I've given you an update on what we're doing and who we're writing to. We've also written to Qualifications, had a meeting actually with Qualifications Wales about qualifications in the new curriculum, and also we had corresponded with Welsh Government about GCSE entries being lower, but obviously because of the disruption now we won't have a pattern there for the next few years. Also WASCR had picked up on the fact that equalities and diversity qualification was being offered instead of the short course, and that didn't meet the requirements of the agreed syllabi. So WASCR had written to schools to say that, to local authorities to say that wasn't an accepted alternative, and you know they are keeping an eye to that, and there was some talk about whether or not we could write our own qualification which would meet the requirements, but again with COVID things are on hold there. The meetings in the summer of last year were postponed, and the AGM was held in the autumn term, and the minutes for that will be sent out to you shortly. That's all on the minutes, I think.
Thank you, Ms Webber. Are there any questions before we note those WASCR minutes? Can't see any hands up, therefore those minutes are noted. Item 8 is to receive and note WASCR's report of activities for 2019-2020. Ms Webber again.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to put this in to show you the huge amount of work that WASCR has been doing. I think we've worked harder during the lockdown than we ever have, And you know, it's a testament really, because you know, it's for some people that's a voluntary work that they are doing, and I know, you know, teachers have worked really hard. Everyone's been working harder, I think, than usual. I'm trying to find. I've written some notes on here to. Sorry. Yeah, I think, to be honest, I've probably covered everything that's in it, but it's just for you to read and to note. Just to also let you know that SACRE have recently written to all teachers of religious education, or anybody that's got anything to do with religious education. I don't know whether our teachers have received that, because we are very aware of the you know, the huge amount of work and the pressure that teachers have been under, and just to tell people, you know, that we are here to help them if they need, and that their local SACREs are there to help them if they need that as well. And just to say thank you, because it's been a very, very difficult time. So I think that's all I really need to say about you know, SACRE really at the moment.
Right. Thank you, Ms Webber. Are there any questions before we note that report of SACRE's activities? No, I can't see any hands up, so thank you. That is duly noted. And item 9 is representation at forthcoming SACRE meetings. Again, Ms Webber, over to you.
Yeah, so we can send up to 3 reps to the SACRE meetings, but the SACRE meeting for the spring term is due to be held in Caerphilly Borough. Now, I'm guessing that this will be another virtual meeting, but I didn't want Caerphilly SACRE to miss out on being able to let the rest of Wales know, you know, the work that you've done, and you know, because you're a very good SACRE, you're all really, really engaged. So I really wanted to have the opportunity to say something. So if it goes ahead virtually, SACRE will organise it. And they will give the opportunity for someone to, you know, to give a welcome, as they normally would be if it was a live meeting, and to say a little bit about Caerphilly SACRE, and to invite all of the Caerphilly SACRE members to that meeting, as they would attend if it was a live meeting. They have been corresponding with Rebecca just in case we're allowed to go ahead physically. I don't know how realistic that would be, but you know, it's going to be either virtual or physical, and we will be hosting that, you know, that meeting virtually or whatever, so we can have someone sort of write a little speech about our SACRE. And I think it would be an ideal opportunity, for example, to tell the rest of Wales that we are co-opting young people to the SACRE, because I think we will be the first SACRE in Wales to have done that, even though obviously we've been a bit scuppered with it at the moment. But I think it would be a really good opportunity to you know, to say how well Caerphilly SACRE are working. So I just wanted to let you know that the dates have not been set, and SACRE are corresponding with the local authority on that at the moment.
Thank you, Ms Webb. I noticed that Michael Gray's hand is up.
Chairman, would you know the date of that meeting?
We don't know as yet.
Yeah, we can let people know as soon as possible, but I'm hoping the LA will come back with some dates, because it's in the hands of the LA to arrange that with Libby Jones from SACRE.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? If there aren't any other questions, then that report is noted. And members, that brings us to the end of the agenda. I'd like to thank you all for attending today. And just let you know, with regards to our spring term meeting, we'll contact members as soon as we can with the date and the arrangements for that meeting. But I've got a feeling that that one will probably be virtual as well. So thank you once again, and good afternoon to you all.
And thank all the delegates, on behalf of the delegates, thank you for chairing the meeting.
And thank you
Mr.
everyone, and especially Paula. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
I now declare the meeting closed.